district forester. I'm the district forester for the New Boston district, and I cover all the way from Texarkana over west to Paris, Texas. So Bowie, Red River, and Lamar County. And the reason I'm on here today is I've got quite a bit of prescribed fire background. I've been burning for about 25 years now. I burned for a few different agencies, and I've been very fortunate and blessed to burn in a lot of states around the U.S. And so I have a wealth of experience in different fuel types. And so today I get the pleasure of talking to you about the benefits and considerations when burning in the growing season and in the fall. So that's what my topic is about today. I'm going to share my screen with you. Have you got that, Kyle?
Yes, sir. You're good to go.
Okay. All right. Again, I'm going to be talking to you today about the benefit and considerations of using prescribed fire during the growing season and in the fall. The way I built this presentation today is I, I've I've taken 4 or 5 different of my burns, and this goes from all the way from April to the Thanksgiving time frame. So to cover that extensive that that's those summer months and those fall months. And so I'm just going to kind of walk you through a lot of this, talking about some of the benefits that I've seen post burn and some of the considerations that I think about when I am burning this time of year. The first thing that I always tell people, you really think you need to have some good objectives in place. You know, why are you burning it all and for me, my objectives, mostly from the Texas A&M Forest Service side, are training. We have a lot of new firefighters that we hire uh, that run wildland fires statewide, and sometimes you just don't have the fire load to get them the training they need right out the door. And so one of the ways we do that is we do a lot of prescribed fire. I On average for me, I burn anywhere on the given year, probably about 1,500 to upwards of about 5,000 acres in a given calendar year. And that's all the way from January to December, depending on, when I can get those burns in. The agencies that I do work for, uh, they have all different objectives from mine. Most of theirs will be anything from timber. One of them has an active timber program. And then one of the we burn on one of the on Camp Maxey. For those that are familiar with Army National Guard facility up north of Paris, and then we burn on some core land, and so the Army National Guard, their primary objective would be training. Wildlife would be their secondary, and same for the Corps, timber, and then wildlife. So moving on, one of the units that I'm looking at today, we just burned back, as you can see, back in May. I tried to put the ranges that, what would be the top or bottom range that I saw that day. So you could kind of gauge what you might be looking at in the growing season or the fall. And so what on the upper range for me, the temperature that day, we burned the Kickapoo unit, and that's in Bowie County, and so northeast Texas. A lot of these fuels will be what you'll see throughout the East Texas area as far as the PBA. And so most of this you'll be burning in yourself. It'll be anywhere from pine, native pine to pine plantations to mixed pine hardwood, hardwood bottomland, onwards to grass. We burn quite a bit of grass over on the west side on Camp Maxie. And so figure out what your objectives are. And then for me, like I said, training. So that it opens up a lot of opportunity for me as far as burning. I just basically most of my burning is like the PBA. I'm sure most of y'all burn in the dormant season. You're burning January to March, and that's when you get most of the good work done. And I'm the same way. I get a lot of work done in those January, February, March time frames. But I have so much to burn in a year that I have to open my window up a lot wider and to make that happen because a lot of times the agency I work for, uh, due to March being a big uh, fire uh, fire season for the state of Texas, especially in the Panhandle. Most of the time, they will shut us down while we're running active fire, just to make sure that we can handle what we have as far as the wildland fire side. That's our one of our primary reasons as a state agency being here. And so I lose, sometimes I might lose that month of March and later. And so I had to open a window, I had to open some more windows up for me to get some of that burning in. So going, like I said, going forth, talking about Kickapoo, uh, some of the considerations for Kickapoo this time of year, always do you have good lines in? Uh, now, uh, this this is the May time frame for me, and so I, yeah, as you can see, that first shot to the left, I've got good green grass there, and a lot of folks wouldn't consider that a good holding line. This time of year for May, we're getting a lot of rainfall. We usually get about 7 inches of rainfall in the month of May, and most of our vegetation out there is actively growing, and I could use this as a fire break myself. Um, and so you can see that grass right there. Now that's not always a given that you would use that as a fire break, but for this month, with the amount of rainfall we get, I would utilize that as a fire break for myself. And you can see over towards the so to show you what I was burning over to the left, if you can see that understory is browned out. This is post burn, obviously. And so to the right, uh, the first of that, so this stand was 100 acres roughly. And you're looking at the first of it, and it's got a little bit, it's got several different fuel types on it. We had about 10 acres of pine plantation that had been thinned, row thinned for the first time, still pretty dense. This is core land, and when they try to thin to about a 70 to 80 basal area. This is probably in the 110 basal area. So it's still pretty heavy. They just pretty much took the rows out of it. So we burned it. You can see we got good top kill on that understory, and most of that is probably about 10 to 12 feet high. It had been it had been burnt. I'd burn it probably about 3 years ago in 2020, the latter part of 2022, 2023. This again is another shot of that pine plantation, and what I really was trying to show here was the top kill and the amount of resprouting that you're already seeing. And so that was burnt obviously in May, and I just took this photo the end of July, so you can see how much greenness, how much vegetation is coming back after that post burn. Again, we got good top kill. Most of all that out there, as you can see, a lot of gum, and so most of all that gum is resprouting back. What I would tell you, one of the reasons that I burn summertime, especially for some of these units here, or this was early growing season, because I put stress on that from that prescribed burn. It's got some, it's got, all of it's resprouting back. And so if theoretically, if I can, I usually would like to come back either the next year or 2 years out and try to put prescribed fire back in there so I can kill that young sprouting gum and when it's stressed. A lot of folks won't. Uh, I'm I have very short intervals for most of my units. Most of my grass units might be, I might burn them every year. Every other year would be my primary focus on my grass units. And then on my timber units, I try to burn them every other or every 3 years, where a lot of folks have a 4 to 5 year interval. And the reason I focus so early, so quick on my frequency is because many things happen in our life, and it could be like you're like me and I get shut down for the month of March, so I don't get all my burns in. It could be I have a sick family member. It could be obviously living in the state of Texas, we have a lot of drought, have a lot of rainfall, and so a lot of times if you're focused on that 4 to 5 year interval, what it does is it shoots you out sometimes 7, 8, maybe 9 years out, and it's almost like you never burn that unit because it's already grown back and gone past where that stage where you finally got to where it's manageable. And so I like I like a lot quicker frequency, earlier interval for me. And so that's again, to do that, a lot of times I utilize that summer, fall burn period.
How badly does that sweet gum set back from that initial burn? Because it looked it was coming back pretty hard there.
Yeah, so and I'm gonna show you a picture of the a unit adjacent to this that we burned. And you can see, and we burned it in February. You can see the difference, the growth, the amount of growth in that frame versus this frame. And we're only talking about a two, almost roughly about a 2 month difference in that dormant season burn and this growing season burn. So I'm gonna hold on that question right there until we get to that frame and show you a little bit better. But
Okay, thank you.
almost just talking about that, almost 90 to 95% of what you see right there that was top killed is resprouting, and most of it has multiple sprouts. And we're going, let me, in two more pictures, I'll show you that. So we're at, and I'm showing you that right now as far as, that I had good top kill, especially on anything that was head to chest high or smaller. So anything that was about your thumb width, I had really good top kill. But most of that, in that chest high or better, it was sprouting back very viciously, and you can see that white oak right there, the sprouts that are coming back from that. To the left on the screen, that's that white oak that I just showed you that was top killed. You can see where I got good, uh, good, uh, a good burn mark there on that the bottom of that stump. On the right hand side, you can see that's a gum. It was about a 15-foot gum that's probably about 2 inches in diameter, and it top killed that 12-foot sweet gum. But gum, it's going to sprout viciously, and it's going to try its best to come back from those sprouts when I'm going to take over dormancy. This is some of this is right beside where I took the shots of the gum that was top killed. You can see one of our invasive species that we're really dealing with up here, especially in Bowie County, Cass County, around the core and the river, around our lakes up here and our river systems is Japanese climbing fern. I'm not sure if you see that East Texas wide, but I noticed it probably about the time I got up here back in 2012. I saw some Japanese climbing fern in small areas. Now I'm seeing a Japanese climbing fern all throughout the Sulphur River bottom. And and the one bad thing about Japanese climbing fern that I've noticed is it really is opportunistic with prescribed fire. Uh, it likes that I'm putting fire in there, where some invasive species don't. This is one that takes advantage of it and really expands its area. And so, what I would tell folks, for me, it's going to be something that the Corps definitely would have to look at some other type treatment to continue on with prescribed fire in here. And I would utilize herbicide if it was me to treat these areas, especially after we got them burnt and had browned out. That climbing fern comes back very quickly. You can pick it up really easy. It'd be easy to spray. But this was one of those things that definitely you're going to have to watch out for on your invasive species. We also have what I call cow repair. That's pretty invasive up here. It's showing up in all our stands. Doesn't matter if it's mixed hardwood pine or just a pine plantation. And now I feel like we do some pretty good. We put a pretty good hurt on our cow repair burning, but it's another thing that to me like it's going to require because of the sprouting. It's going to require some herbicide work too to keep it under control. And I know Kyle had asked me about um, burning further, in the south part of East Texas, where you folks in Southeast Texas deal with Yopon, and I don't have a great amount of experience burning in Yopon. Uh, what I would, the little bit of knowledge I have on Yopon is, especially I sprayed it on my mom's place and burnt, is it requires, a lot of times it requires two different treatments. It might, it requires a lot of prescribed fire to keep it under control, and it's going to require herbicide. It's not one of those, hey, prescribed fire is going to, it's an end all for everything for me. It's going to require some other treatment. So you're going to be looking at maybe mechanical or a herbicide to help you get there where you're wanting to go. The reason I put this picture in here is because this is part of that 98 acres that I burned in this back in May, and I just wanted to show you. A lot of times it really depends on what you have out there as to whether or not you can get good fire through that area. And so parts of this were really dominant pine and those early growing season burns. I can get good coverage with my prescribed burn. But when it comes to like this part of the stand where it was mainly 70% hardwood, 30% pine component, I couldn't get good prescribed fire in there. And now, does that hurt my feelings? No, because if I'm a wildlife manager and I'm thinking about maybe nesting turkey, nesting birds, or I'm thinking, just wildlife in general, where a lot of times, they've always preached that you need edge. Well, I've created that edge out there. I've still got habitat out there that hasn't been exposed to prescribed fire that wildlife can utilize, and so there's still opportunity there to continue to carry everything I was carrying in there before. So that's why I showed you that. Plus, on just to make, clarify, a lot of times in that April, May time frame, that early growing season, you know, I told you up here for us anyway, you know, I'm getting roughly about 7 inches on average in those 2 months each. And so a lot of rainfall. So I've got to work around that rainfall. And what happens when you're getting that amount of rainfall is that hardwood tends to absorb a lot of that moisture, and it's a lot slower to dry out versus that pine fuel that's a finer fuel for me. And so that again, that doesn't hurt my feelings. A lot of times I know that those areas are not going to burn, and so I don't have to watch them as closely as I do during the dormant season. You know, for maybe fire carrying across the line. I'm still going to put a good fire break in there, but that's an area that maybe I don't waste as much drip torch mix fluid, or I don't spend as much time in labor there. The right picture right there, I was just trying to show the fuel bed as it's broken up as far as its continuity. You see a lot of hardwood litter spread throughout that pine fuel, and so that's going to uh, not carry fire for you. And so again, a lot of times I'm not wasting a large amount of fuel in there. I'm moving on. This picture right here, what I was trying to show you, so to the left side, that's the Kickapoo unit. It was burned again in May. The right side is what I call the Kickapoo East unit. And that was a dormant season burn. Obviously, I burned it. I put the date for you there, February the 26th, 25. And you can see the amount of growth already from that. Mostly that's uh, hardwood that I top killed in there coming back. And I'm going to show you another slide. So this is the right side of the last picture. The Kickapoo East unit burned in the dormant season. So understory top kill, trying to remove that understory. This was actually this stand's been salvage cut. We had a tornado go through here about 2 years ago and opened that stand up with salvage cut. So the basal area, if you're talking in forestry terms, a lot more people are getting uh, uh, familiar with basal area per acre. So that's a roughly about um, uh, an 80 to 100 basal area out there. So pretty open amongst that pine, mature pine, and that's short leaf. That that understory, what you see out there, and I, I took a picture of that. It's roughly about chest high to head high, and you're looking at about a 5 month growth period on that. That it's coming back from our prescribed burn, and it was a good prescribed burn. Actually got pretty warm in there. I was almost a little bit worried that we might see some scorch on that residual, that mature stand of pine, but I did not have any scorch at all. But again, you got very good competition coming back in there from that beautyberry, sweet gum, wing elm, and oak. If you were trying to get grass back in there, the component that I'm showing you right there is so tall at this point in time, you wouldn't get any grass understory. It's going to require some more burning to get to that point if your objective is to get a grass understory in there. I took a picture of this because a lot of times one of our objectives, especially from my side, is fuels reduction. And one of the great times that you can get some of those heavier fuels burn up, well, repeated burning is the best way to do that. But a lot of times in my in my my later summer, when I have a lot of drying, or the later part of the dormant season, when you get a pretty good dry spell, especially March, I can get some of that fuel, those heavier fuels burn up. The picture I'm showing here is just for promoting a lot of what folks are after right now. I get a lot of folks in my office that are wanting to talk pollinators, and it's a very hot topic. A lot of folks getting into bees, honey production. A lot of folks, always want to see birds and butterflies, and so just showing you, you know, if I'm thinking, constantly putting dormant season burns, usually you're favoring those woody plants, those warm season grasses, where my summer burns, I'm increasing that herbaceous plant diversity, especially, all the way through June, that October time frame. You're getting a lot of those good forbs coming up, flowering, a lot of wildflowers, and so you're going to see a lot of pollinators. And both these units actually had quite a bit of butterflies. And I know what you see there. That looks like a moth to me, but that was the only thing close to me at that point when I was taking those shots. And so I took a shot of him. One of the things that is a huge concern of mine, and I can't say it always was, but now that I'm burning, especially back in East Texas, burning multiple times, and by the time I finish my career, this unit right here, which is the Kickapoo East unit, this, I will probably have burnt in my career, my short career here, I would probably burn it, at least 5 times, if not more. And so you're putting most of the time, y'all are putting good fire breaks in to control these fires, and you can see the erosion that's going on there. Well, if I only burn that unit one time, that's great. But just to clarify what I'm seeing is I'm doing some damage from that erosion that will last 100, 200 plus years. And so I want to be very careful with those fire breaks. I'm teaching our dozer. We always have young dozer operators that are learning to put line in for the first time, and I spend a lot more time with them now on good BMP's, best management practices that we utilize here in Texas, and that's putting some water bars in, trying to steer that water, channel that water off those roads, off those fire breaks, where I don't cause long-term damage in there. Because what happens, you can't see it because we haven't been putting lines in there very long, but if you continue to do that for 5, 10 times, you'll drop that roadbed a lot, and you'll lose a lot of that good soil in there. And so you need to find other ways to go about continuing to maintain those lines. Maybe it's to mow and burn off a green line during the summertime, or late summer. Maybe it's to uh, disc those lines. I know we're looking at some what they call a Buffalo turbine engine, and it's a heavy duty leaf blower that will blow those lines off. But that would be a way not to expose those lines every time that you got to go back in there and you want to burn again. So we want to be careful about our line prep, and that's the main thing I wanted to state. If you're doing that, please try to use some best management practices, and you can go online and see Texas best management practices, and how many water bars that you might need to, depending on the topography, and how to channel that water off. Okay, so talking about precip, and I always concerned with it all the way throughout the year, but specifically, in those summer months, when we're getting a lot of rainfall early on, and I'm trying to put a burn on in the early growing season, or be it late. This year, we've had rain spaced out very well. It would have been a very tough year if I'm looking at some prescribed burns, especially in my grass units, to try to get something done. And so I, I really follow precip very well. As you can see, I've been taking precip at the house now, and my wife says I'm a little too picky about it. because I can be gone for 2 weeks and call her. I know when it's going to rain. I call her to go check the rain gauge for me. She definitely hates that, but she knows now to just go do it before I ask her. But you can see, I'm just showing you the averages, what we're looking at on average up here, and it could be a little different. You get further central part in southeast Texas, but this is the average in northeast Texas. You can see we're averaging about 61 inches of rainfall up here. And what I would say, looking at this, what it means to me is I notice, just a half inch off in a month, and we're drying out, and I should be trying to more likely get some fire going in those months where a half inch off is dry enough that those fuels are receptive to fire. And if you look at that April, May time frame and you follow it all the way out to the very far right, you can see what I was talking about, 7 inches of rainfall. So you got to be really on your game during those months to try to get fire on the ground and really looking for that opportunity. We're, in our pine fuels, what I'd say is sometimes, in my pine fuel, I've had an inch and a half, and 2, 3 days later, I would be putting fire on the ground in those pine fuels. It's just especially if we had any kind of wind, it's just they dry out so fast. They're pretty receptive to fire at that point in time. Where my hardwood fuels, sometimes it'll take a week to 10 days to get those hardwood stands, especially bottomland, my bottomland hardwood, dry enough to be able to put fire in there. So it takes some time. And like I said, I've had about 25 years, trying to figure all this out. There's a lot of research out there to help folks, get above the curve quicker than me. But this is what I did to really stay on as far as trying to figure out when to get burning done. You can look in your later months as far as the July, August time frame. We're getting in our lower months of the average, and so you're not seeing any more than 3.5 inches of rainfall for those months. And so getting pretty dry. We do burn that time of year, and I'm more focused on my grass units that time frame. Because my pine fuels to put fire in that time frame in July, August, I would be putting scorch on those trees to a point I'd be very concerned with those trees. And so a lot of times I'm more focused on my grass units, July, August time frame for me in September. The So showing these pictures right here, I don't do a lot of site preparation burns. Well, I don't do any at this point in time where I'm at. But I used to do a lot of site prep burns, and I know we're talking to East Texas landowners, so some of y'all potentially will be planning reforesting or have in the past and use burns to get those sites ready for planting purposes, for planting access. And so typically for me, when I was doing this in my profession, I would generally be looking for the July, August, September timeframes. Usually by October, mid-October, we're getting too much rainfall to burn uh, uh, an area like that. But for me, I was getting, we were burning for the private landowner, and I wanted to get, we were getting paid, and I always wanted to get the best burn I could get for those folks, especially getting paid. And so a lot of times that's why I burn that time of year, because you're getting your heavy fuels, your 1,000 hour fire fuels, your 10,000 hour fuels have the drying time on them from as you know, it's pretty warm right now with that 95 degree plus temperature. That's drying those heavier fuels out fast, and you can get a good burn in there and get rid of that. This was a logging site, and it had a lot of hardwood on it previously, and had a lot of big slash, and so we were able to reduce that. It also, for me, this had it already had pretty good undergrowth on it. It was probably head tall, and so I had to put a herbicide on it before. And for me, a herbicide, I generally would wait. 4 weeks on out to maybe 8 weeks to get good brown out on that fuel, and then I would put a fire in there, and it definitely would be very hot. But you can see how clean it is now, and if you were planning, you would be appreciative of that. So that's the reason I put that in there so folks would know. I know I misspelled site prep now that I see that on my slide. Sorry about that. I'm my own editor, so. All right. So getting in some of the grass fuels that I talked about. A lot of this, a lot of my grass fuels get burned during the dormant season, obviously because they're frost killed or we've had some good freezes and browned out that grass, and so we can get a really good burn in there, like you see on the left. The reason we burn at Camp Maxey, and we burn historically we burned out there for years, but went through a spell where burning they weren't doing any burning, and you can see how quick that used to be all grass fields, and you see how fast that hardwood wants to take over. So you have woody encroachment, and everybody in East Texas is dealing with that just with the amount of rainfall we get. You're always going to have woody encroachment if you're not doing something like mowing, grazing, burning, herbicide. And so for here, they do not graze that. They do utilize a little bit of herbicide, some mulching. Prescribed fire is the way that they try to maintain their grasslands. And so not only during the dormant season, but during the growing season, and you can see what we're after, what the Army National Guard's after. They're after that right side with open grasslands where they can send those troops through different type training areas, and this is one they really like to train in those open grass fields. And this one that I showed the right, like I said, it's been burned 4 times now that I put fire in there. Historically longer than that, but since they quit burning and then we got back into it 4 times since 2017. So I try to put fire in there every other year, and just to try to maintain that view that you see. This is one of the areas that we we were trying to get back to a grass stage. As you can see, I was burning late September, and this had had some rainfall on it. Obviously, this time of year we get drying really quick, and especially if you get some wind, you can actually get in there and put some good fire in there. Normal in the summertime fire season, for us, you can almost uh, you can almost know that you're going to get southeast winds for us where we're at here in Northeast Texas, and I'm sure not a lot of different going all the way down to the Gulf. Y'all are probably still getting a lot of a pretty good south component to your winds. It's a rarity late summer that you're getting any kind of north wind. I know we had a north wind just for the last 2, 3 days up here, but that's a very rare event, and those are light and variable winds. For me, I can't burn just because uh, I'm not certified through TDA. I'm like everybody else. I have to burn with a 6 mile an hour wind or more. And so I know you see winds south at 5. That's eye level, but the winds were a little bit high, higher than that at the 20-foot winds that we utilize. And so it was a good day to burn. That smoke dissipated real well. But the I was, as you can see, very green grass. Did I utilize that as a fire break? No, but as you can see in that left picture, I had a road system all the way around this thing, so I used that gravel road as a fire break myself. Did it crawl through that green grass? Some of it. What I'm really looking at this time of year to burn grass to get it going, you need some dead thatch to help that. And so this had really good dead thatch. Uh, and it and so when I'm going out there to check to see if I've got some fuel to burn out there, I'm one of those. I just don't look on the graphs that we have on our website to figure out, hey, it's ready. I'll go put boots on the ground. And for folks that are in PBA, usually y'all reside in y'all's areas that you're burning anyway. So it's something that you can go do the morning of, put your hand in the ground, see if it's, see what you got out there as far as fuel loading. And I could see that I had really good dead thatch underneath that grass, at the base of that grass, and it was going to carry very well. And there was already some wilting in some of the areas on some of our grasses, just because that 90+ degree temps, it takes its toll on grass pretty fast. And we're able, obviously, to get some good fire in here. This same unit, you can see what I was after. I spent a lot of time putting labor into removing eastern red cedar, either by chainsaw or mulching or prescribed fire, which is what I usually utilize. And you can see I put some hurt on this. If I wish I'd taken a better picture, there was a lot more eastern red cedar out there. This is one of the cleaner areas that I took right after we got through burning. But you can see where I skeletonized, or we skeletonized that cedar to the right. The one to the left, still fairly green. Probably it'll still be sitting there till we burn again. What I usually tell folks, what I noticed about eastern red cedar, is if you don't skeletonize or burn all the foliage off of it, usually have not killed that tree. Now it won't, as far as I know, won't resprout, but the one on the right, it's dead now. And it was is strictly due to this summer burn that we put in on it. The one to so we're talking about the right picture. You see that green eastern red cedar out there. Maybe the next time it's still small enough, you still got enough foliage to the at the towards the lower end. That'll be little blue, and it'll be knee high, sometimes almost hip high. And so we put another fire in there. I'll really try to get maybe some head fire in there and roll over that and kill that eastern red cedar next time we burn that. But as you can see to the left picture, that's winged elm there with a lot of vines in it. Probably did some damage to the vine. The winged elm, looking at it, probably still possibly survive that. There's not much foliage up there. Hopefully, being this late in the summer, especially with the temperatures we were having, the stress put on that plant, hopefully I did some damage to possibly remove that tree from that, or that woody encroachment from that grass. So you can see to the left, I put the one thing I've always learned about summer burns is I have a cutoff, and it's just for my labor force, my manpower. Above 95 degrees, I notice, especially if you get anybody on the ground, you're going to put a good hurt on those folks. And so I want to make sure that I have a cutoff on that. And so 95 degrees is it. Usually late in the summer, I'm having everybody burn off ATVs, UTVs, just to make sure that I'm not seeing any heat stress on those folks. So just remember that if you're burning late summer, pretty hot, utilize some other resources to get fire on the ground. Probably need to move ahead, but I know we're getting to the latter part of this. Again, I'm just trying to show you where I'm trying to go. The right picture had sumac. One thing, every time I burn that sumac comes back. What I've noticed is putting herbicide on that sumac and then burning it. in the summertime, you'll get a pretty good kill on that sumac. The the left side is just again just showing you burn it. Still have a lot of woody encroachment coming in on those fields. You know, it's going to take repeated applications of prescribed fire uh, during different times of the year, dormant or summer, and preferably summertime. Uh, and I would probably get a better kill on that in that open, or what I would like to be an open field. This what I was trying to show here. It was early growing season, but you can see a better time to burn because you're still getting some cooler temps, not as hard on your manpower out there, and most of you folks are trying to get to, like in the top picture, you're trying to get to the left side where you open that understory up, where you can see turkey, deer, be able to hunt those areas, or you're trying to reduce that for fuel loading and wildfire mitigation. But the right hand side is what you on that top picture is what it was before. Again, just trying to show you a repeated multiple treatments is what a lot of times these stands will take. So you see skid steer working this area right here. It should be a grass unit. Woody encroachment has taken it over. We had to go to a pretty extensive treatment there, and so it was being mulched. I put fire on it late because they didn't finish in the dormant season with that treatment. They finished roughly probably February timeframe. Waited till early growing season. Put fire in there in that what I call it hog's head unit. You can see on the right hand side that was mulched and not burned. You can see the sprouting that's coming back from that mulched area. You're getting a lot of multiple sprouts. They won't be able to maintain that like that without either a herbicide or prescribed burn. I'm going to go back in there because I know we haven't put any burning in there, and I'm not sure that they put any herbicide on it, and take another picture of that for further presentations. But the left-hand side is what most of you folks would like it to look like, and a lot of y'all are doing mulching, but I would always recommend that you either herbicide or prescribe burn that after you get through mulching that with repeated prescribed fire. And in summertime, you're gonna, that tree's already been stressed because you remove that top, and so it's sprouting back to try to survive. It's got a lot of stress on that plant. To put fire on it now, you might totally do that plant in where you wouldn't see any sprouting. You remove that understory. So this slide right here for me, just talking about the difference. I look at all these fire currents, frequency, and fire intensity, and frequency is probably the most important to me. Just making sure that you're getting fire in there at a good frequency. Like I said, I prefer my every other year, every 2 to 3 year frequency on most of my units, where if you're waiting to that 4 or 5 year mark, a lot of times it's going to put you so far back that you've lost that stand, and it requires a lot of work to get it back to where you want it to go. So remember, it's a lot easier to control if you're burning every other year, every 3 years, than it is to wait to that 4 or 5 year mark, because it just gets too far gone, and it requires a lot more labor. This is a fall burn. I know because that was one of the part of the topic. Again, I'm just trying to open my window where I can, make opportunities to get good fire in there. You can see fall time frame, all those oaks, hickories are still holding on to leaf. We did have enough freezes to cure that grass. If you want to know what that technique's getting used in there, it's heads. We're stripping that head strips, and most of the time I'm burning such big units anymore. on average, probably 400 to 500 acres. I don't strip a lot of my units anymore, but I prefer backfiring, and I use a lot of flanking fire at this point in time to maintain these units that we're burning. But again, I don't want people to discount the fall for burning. I know it's harder for me because I've got folk being working for a state agency and burning uh, during work hours. It's harder for me to hit these windows because we got a lot of folks trying to get time off before our late winter spring wildfire season out west. And so, but what I would say for the PBA is, it's probably a great time for folks to be burning, even though most of the time, a lot of you folks, if you're hunting, you've already gotten some deer. So, some of you have already thought about going back to fishing. You got family members coming in for the Thanksgiving, the Christmas break, and we always have a short window to burn at that Thanksgiving in that winter time or that Christmas time frame where you can get fire in there. And so you would see you're going to have family members in, and it's a good time to make memories and have a good time, putting a little fire on the ground. And most of us don't burn bigger than 40 acres, 20, 40 acres at a time. So great time to teach young folks how to burn, and it's cool. And then you also more likely maybe see some wildlife that you didn't see before early on in the hunting season. All right, so just kind of pushing through that. I know I talked quite a bit. I don't know if we have any questions, but I'd like to open it up for some quick questions.
Hey, John, I got a question. Just curious on those more open burn units over time. And it's kind of two questions, I guess, but they're connected. Do you see more grass, like perennial grass senescence, when you're doing more frequent intervals? And then number two, what kind of forward response do you get in versus winter versus summer in those units?
So I'll try to answer both those. So typically, in what I've noticed is I'm going to, probably favor my warm season grasses, but I get a really good response uh, from especially my dormant season, getting those warm season grasses. But the later I burn into, I might, uh, you'll see um, that that grass coverage sprout back really quick. So don't think you're going to be looking at black for a long period of time. Within just a couple weeks, you're going to have probably 4 to 5 inches of new growth on that grass component that you removed. So you're going to get response back really quick. Um, as far as the forbs go, so our wildflowers, they're going to be flying all the way from. It just depends on what you're looking at as far as the different wildflowers, but they're gonna fly out all the way from June on to your latter part of your summer, and you're getting into a lot of your ragweed, those type things that are still flying at that point in time. So what you'll do is you'll get really good response, really good coverage on those wildflowers, and you'll see a lot of pollinators come in. Also, you're going to get, depending on what kind of bird species you're favoring there, you get especially quail. You're going to see quail in those areas feeding. Uh, Dove season's coming on. September, Labor Day weekend, because you burned. Maybe you're burning early growing season or June time frame if you can. You're going to see a lot of dove come in there and light in there and start to feed in those grass areas as far as getting a response from wildlife. I don't know if I
Thanks.
answered that correctly.
No, you're good. Yeah, I was just curious on what differences you see, and as far as grass goes, just there's some stuff that I always read about that more frequent burning, you get more perennial grass, dominance over time, and that might be different, of course, with higher rainfall zones. So, just curious.
And I'm sorry, I'm not the agronomist or the biologist. You're unlikely talking to a forester, and so my forte is always trees. I don't know if that'd be a good question for a biologist to respond to, a range, somebody that manages range.
Thanks, John. No worries.
Any other questions?
Hey, John, quick question about cedars. If you're knocking them down mechanically with a saw, let's say, how long do you recommend? And the property I'm talking about is up near you in the Red River. Let them lay on the ground before you try and burn them do burn a unit to remove that litter.
Was I would put fire back down, as quick as you can, but knowing so it depends on your component, how much component you have of Eastern Red Cedar. So if you've got a lot of coverage of Eastern Red Cedar and you do some kind of mechanical like saw work, you've added to that fuel bed, so you've got a lot of fuel sitting in there. You might want what I you might want that to melt down some before you put fire back in there because it's going to get hot. If you're burning, for the first time, that might not be what you want to burn for the first time out the door, if you're learning to burn. Just because, you're going to see some pretty intense heat, some pretty good, uh, fire flame lengths, and definitely it might be something that you look at using a vendor for to burn that first time. Otherwise, like I said, what you would do is give it some years, let it melt down, and then put fire back in there when some of that fuel bed has melted down some. It's not as thick or high where you're going to see those huge flame lengths. Or there's other ways to manage that too. Maybe you let some precip, maybe you get some precip and you burn, 3, 4 days out from that precip if you can put fire in that fuel bed, where it's not as intense, but you're still removing that fuel bed, and you're interjecting fire in there quicker, every other year, every 3 years, every 2, 3 years, where you're knocking that fuel down to where it's not as intense.
Thank you.
Hey, John, we got a good question. How late into the fall can you typically burn without affecting your deer hunting and during your deer surveys and how quick do you normally see deer respond to your late season burn, late fall burns?
So I know this is not what people want to hear, but so my fall time frame, what I'll tell you is what I so we do a lot of dozer work, put a lot of fire breaks in, and people go, I can't, I don't want you out there, putting fire breaks in, dozing line, because you're scaring my deer off. What I would tell you is most of the time, as soon as I cut that dozer off and I put that blade on the ground to go home, that deer is coming in there and covering that fire break up, going, what's in my living room? What has been in my living room moving around? They are right back in there. The same way with fire. If I put fire in there, you're getting fall time frame, if I'm thinking about hunting, uh, I'm gonna burn a little bit earlier in the fall before, I start to get really good acorn drop. And so what you did was you pretty much swept that floor off in that living room. It's a clean floor and you got acorns laying everywhere in there. What do you think that deer's going to do? Just because it's burnt, he's not going to come in there. He's going to come in there more. It's a lot easier to forage in there at that point in time. And like I said, most of the time that those grasses and forbs are going to respond pretty quick, even though it's the dormant season, and a lot of those grasses are cured, but you have some cool season grasses that'll respond from that. You're going to see some things come back, some forage come back in there that deer will feed on. So I wouldn't be concerned myself, but I know that doesn't comfort you at all. But again, I just noticed every time that we've done it, they're right back in there right after you get through with it. and most of you are not burning very big acreage like me. And so you're burning 40 to 100 acres. And so you're going to, you're not going to see a lot of habitat that's been removed immediately from, foraging for the deer or
Yes.
shelter.
Katie also asked, do you happen to know of any good references that they could provide landowners to or hunters to ease their concerns on burning late in the fall? Do you have any literature on that?
I do not.
Yeah, I don't either, unfortunately. Well, any other questions?
And I would say, and I don't know if Andy's on the presentation today, but Andy McCready is he's really our prescribed fire coordinator, and Andy's really solid in answering a lot of those questions. He's done the research, he's read the studies, and so if anybody's ever got any questions that we can help from our standpoint, I would hesitate to call Andy McCready on some of those questions. And then if I can, I would always say, hey, even from my standpoint, I'll look it up and I'll figure out what the good answer is for that and shoot that to somebody if they want to leave their email with me.
Yes. Yeah, Andy was on, but he had to step off, I believe. So, well, Mr. Hawkins, I really appreciate it. We can't thank you enough for taking the time out of your day to present to us. And for everyone on here, everything's recorded, so it'll be available after the fact.